Hi, I'm Corneel Koens. I'm a statistician working at the European Organization for Research and Treatment of Cancer, the EORTC, and my task there is a lead statistician on cancer clinical trials. For SISAQOL, I am involved in work package 2, which is looking at statistical techniques to analyze randomized clinical trials.
And I'm Solomon Alexis. I'm from the UK. I'm a multiple myeloma patient, so I'm a patient advocate, and I'm affiliated with MPE, and I make a contribution to work package 2.
I'm a statistician, which means I mainly work with data, and I don't work in a clinic. I don't see cancer patients myself. So I'm mainly behind a computer screen analyzing data, and after some time the data it's numbers and it's a sort of puzzle to solve, and statisticians like to talk about getting the signal from the noise, but you tend to forget that it's real patients. You know, these data points are real patients. You may see a gap in your data and think that's an annoying problem to solve, but underlying might be a patient who decided to take a treatment holiday so they can have a Christmas holidays with friends and families. And that is something, if you're detached from the actual sort of view that you're dealing with human patients, that you tend to forget. So being in SISAQOL and interacting with patients and hearing what they want to see from the data, and there is more than one way to look at it, that's for a statistician really invaluable.
Well, if I just follow up on what Corneel said, you know, we don't see ourselves as numbers, okay? We are real people that's going through real pain. Okay, a cancer diagnosis is never easy. And so my experience on work package 2 has been, I would say it has been wholesome. But then the first thing that I tried to do is try to understand what is it that's expected of me as a patient. What it is that work package 2 wants of me. Because at the end of the day, you want to ensure that the contribution that you make is not just for yourself, but for all patients, okay? All patients who have been diagnosed with a cancer. And so the experience, especially working with MPE, to try to understand these very technical things, because the recommendations are very, very technical. And so you need a particular skill set to be able to do it. To be able to understand it, you need that skill set. And so one of the things that I've learned there is, in a way, divorce yourself from the statistics, from the numbers, and think solely as a patient. Okay, I am not a statistician, so I will never be able to, you know, talk about the regressions and separate the noise from the signals. But then I know how I feel, and so the experience here has been invaluable to me. It has been, you know, it's a great experience, and it's good to see that the powers that be, where patients are concerned, are thinking about us. Okay, and for that, I'll be forever grateful. Okay, on behalf of the cancer, the Patient Cancer Society.
I think that's really important, because indeed, as a statistician, you want to have an accurate analysis, but if you come to a result but it's incomprehensible, it's actually not going to serve anything. So I think that's a really good point that you make, that there's indeed this need to understand what is going on and to sort of detach the statistical technicality from the message, you know, to get that message and make sure it's fully understood.
Yeah, that's important, and maybe it comes down to the design of, you know, the questionnaire or the survey or the experiments that you're carrying out. Because if it is a simple yes, no, if it is a simple tick the box over there, then you will not get that quality data that you're looking for. Like you said a while ago, a patient may have missed a particular endpoint, but then the reason for it is because they wanted a Christmas holiday. Yeah. And do you want to stop a patient, a cancer patient, from having and spending time with their family over Christmas in favor of filling out, going and do some blood tests or something like that? I don't think we want to do that. But then you need to understand that. And at the same time, as a statistician, you don't want, in my view, you don't want to put a 0 there to say, hey, he's not there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think a big barrier, at least in my opinion, has been simply the use of terminology and language and underlying assumptions. You tend to forget when you work in a certain field how common certain language to use sounds, or how certain practices are considered as standard. But if you have an outside view, or even better, the really patient view, because at the end of the day the patient not only gives the data but is also the user of the data, it's a lot of terminology to disentangle. I think one example was when we, for instance, talked about using the available case method, and that statisticians say we don't like to use it. And it sounded as we don't like to use all available cases, but it's a sort of terminology, meaning it's a naive approach that we don't like to use. There are better ones. And it does require that sort of extra step of explaining this terminology, which I feel is a sort of barrier in getting, certain messages across.
And I agree with you, Colonel, because as a challenge, okay, it is understanding what these recommendations are. And if you don't have the experience, you will never be able to understand it. So for me personally, it took a lot of effort, time, dedication to try to understand what is it that recommendation, that statement really means. Because, as I said before, I'm not a statistician. I'm only a simple cancer patient. And as a result, certain terms may mean something completely different to me. So that's one of the challenges that I had, trying to understand the language and to make sense of it in order to make that meaningful contribution.